Hi, everyone. Welcome to
Good morning,
today's
sir.
morning. So, again, I would request you to keep your videos on if you can. And let's start. Who wants to have a quick recap of what we have done? Anyone?
I can if no one else wants to, but let's just wait, I guess.
Let's wait for others to chime in as well, Sadit. I mean, you have had shared the recap, yeah. I mean, you guys don't need to hesitate that much for a recap. I mean, I'm not scoring on recap, guys.
For last class, we talked about the features of Tableau Desktop, and you also showed us that some information like salaries can be grouped or can be changed into other figures so that these are not disclosed to a larger audience.
The concept is we call masking, masking information or putting in random noise in front of information so that money at times if you're required to keep your information confidential, that's one way to do that. And then we looked into two basic tables we created in Tableau using two built-in functions. Yes, Satman.
So you also mentioned a pro tip about reading the first entire row of data.
Oh yeah.
And to understand what we have and what are the things we can extract from the data set that we have. You also talked about the difference between the two features of Tableau, which are extract and live.
Yeah.
Where to apply which one?
Yeah, we introduced Tableau and some basic visualizations in terms of tables. So actually we're going to build up on that. So Shruti, I think I did share with you guys the recording of the last one, right? I forgot, but I think I did. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to start recording today again with your permission. তাহলে আমরা next Tableau যে জিনিসগুলো করবো সেগুলো recorded হলো and then I can share the recordings with you if that's okay. So anyone has a objection to recording? Okay, cool. I'm gonna first actually share the screen with Tableau and then record. Here, you can see the screen. There.
Recording in progress.
So let's go through what we have done. Is basically we have loaded this data set, which is direct marketing, which I said is 1,000 rows from the transactions in a supermarket. And from there, we looked into, first of all, we created this matrix directly from Tableau's show me option. And then we also created our own phone number summary table, which is like, for the customers we have, we're looking at here the gender, whether they own home or not, and their history, as well as whether they live close or far. And here we're looking at the average spending amount of each of these subgroups. Yes, Sadid.
Sure, I was about to ask that, like in this matrix, a lot of the values are faded, those in the middle range. Do you think it's a wise idea to keep it that faded? Because a lot of people may not be able to see it.
So the logic behind faded, when I faded it last class, was more like, if we just want to look at the extremes and analyze that kun subgroup gulo mostly very low. So we actually manually set this color. If we look at color and go for edit and go for advanced, so we manually set it like, say anything below 2000. So actually 1500-ish here is gonna get red, and anything high spending would be green. So it was more of an idea that, কোনো group predominantly low spending or কোনো group predominantly high spending. Even here, if you look at it, this group is predominantly high spending, age 18 value. So if I look at these three values, they're predominantly high spending. And সেটা চোখের সামনে চলে আসছে। আবার কোনো group যদি predominantly low spending. যেমন if you look at this group, which is like, low history, close যারা, তাদের regardless of whether they're male or female, which age group, or whether they own home or not, all of them are low spending, and medium-এর ক্ষেত্রেও একটু low spending. So highlighting them, but yes, fair point. যদি আমরা এখন সবটুক মানে, so depends on the again objective of this visualization. তো আমার যদি objective of the visualization থাকে to just give my decision maker a quick look in the eye, যে এক ঝলকে ধরে ফেলতে পারবো যে কোন সাবগ্রুপ গুলো হাই স্পেন্ডিং আর কোন সাবগ্রুপ গুলো লো স্পেন্ডিং, then this is a good visualization. But if I want to give my decision maker or the person who's looking at the visualization a proper picture of all the colors, then maybe this is not a good one. Then maybe using 3 different colors which also stand out, or not even having colors, or having shades of a color where the middle shades are not great, could be a good option. Could I answer your question, Sadhu?
Yes. Do you think a fill color as opposed to a text color would have been a better option?
Could be, but so this is where I have this is experience coming. Okay, I've tried in different times with text colors and sometimes fill colors, such as to give others context. Fill color means saje jeta bolche je mane each of the box gulo color kore deya ar ki, je text thaklo but each of the boxes in the background would be colored. That could be one, but I found out that when you have fill colors, then a lot of people do complain. Like with the same combination of fill colors and text colors, people are much okay with the text color. With fill color, a lot of people do complain that it's not good for the eye. So that's why I think table er khetre amra background mane heat map tables it avoid it, because when you build heat map tables mane hocche jokhon naki amra background take color kore upore numbers use korbo, we try to avoid them a little bit, because a lot of times table is not processed as a heat map table. People are more hot wired to look at a table in terms of numbers. So coloring the number actually helps in making a point stand out. Any other questions on this? Yeah, Oishi.
Sir, since we're on the topic of heat maps, I wanted to ask you which scenarios or what kind of data do you think they go the best with?
We'll wait for that. Can I ask a heat map that?
Yes,
So
sir.
to wait for it to put the heat maps. So, acha, if there is no other questions other than this, let's look into one small thing. So a table tati, I'm going to spend a little bit of time on table, because tables can be super powerful if they're well used. Big condition on the fact that if they're well used, but tables can be very helpful. So the way to do that is, let's just look at this group. মানে দেখা যাচ্ছে এই পুরো টেবিলে এটা কিন্তু স্ট্যান্ড আউট করতেছে যে we have high spenders in the high history category of FAR, of females who own their home, and all 3 groups have high spending category. Now, who are these people? So there are a few ways to look into that. The one is, the one is select them. Here, there you go. I can select these. Let's just select these 3. Okay, let's press Control and select, easier here. So we can select these, and when we selected the last one, we have some options. So one option is grouping them and separating them, or creating a set out of them. We'll work with sets a little bit later, maybe next class. Today's class, I won't be able to cover that much as sets, but I'll leave the sets later. For now, we can do is this concept of view data. So let's see what happens here. So this is nothing but just a simple summary of this. Female, own home, young of, middle, far, high. But কাজে আসে হচ্ছে যখন আমরা এখানে full data click করি. So this shows 31 rows who are part of this group. So আমি যদি এখন একটা subgroup analysis করতে চাই of people যারা নাকি যে high spenders 31 জন ছিল out of the 1000. So 3.1% of my data population was this group. And here, আমি চাইলে এখানে এটা আলাদা করে শুধু দেখাই না, we can also export it as a CSV in wherever I want in my desktop, and then separate it as a separate data set. So we can always, একটু আগে যেরকম তোমাদেরকে আমি লাস্ট ক্লাসে দেখাইছিলাম যে filtering, load filtering. আরেকটা আছে যে this is one other filtering which is যেটাকে আমরা বলি যে in ভিজুয়ালাইজেশন ফিল্টার, ভিজুয়ালাইজেশন থেকে একটা সাবগ্রুপ উঠে আসলো, একটা সাব প্যাটার্ন উঠে আসলো, সেটা থেকে আমরা যদি একটা গ্রুপ দেখতে চাই। আবার সিমিলারলি তোমরা যদি দেখো, if you see this group here, lower these two groups are pretty low কিন্তু, যে rent low female and male own low, এই দুটো গ্রুপ যেহেতু বেশ ছোট, we can also see that subgroup. So here again, oops, sorry. Yeah, here again, I can see the data and the full data, and that's 99 rows. So 9.9%, no, 0.99%, 9.9%. Yeah, 9.9% of the data is this, and we can again export them to check. So that's finding subgroups, but we can do a few other things in a table. So here we have another panel, which is analytics panel. তো অ্যানালিটিক্স প্যানেলে প্রত্যেকটা ভিজুয়ালাইজেশনের জন্য নিজস্ব কিছু অ্যানালিটিক্স সাজেস্ট করে। যেমন টেবিলের ক্ষেত্রে দুইটা অ্যানালিটিক্স সম্ভব, একটা হচ্ছে টোটালস, একটা হচ্ছে ক্লাস্টার। We can skip on the cluster for now. আমরা হচ্ছে কি টোটালটা দেখি। তো টোটালে if I bring in the total, drag in here, কয়েকটা অপশনস দেখো। We have subtotals, we have column grand totals, and we have row grand totals. What happens if we bring in the subtotal? So this gives me the subtotal of each of the groups. Now, do notice that a subtotal of 2000, 2000, and 3000 is not 2691, right? Dina jini jog korle for never 2691 hobe. So what's happening here? So a subtotal mane kintu they're intelligent enough to figure out that these are all average numbers. So ei subtotal ta mane hocche je tomar high history parer female own home total যে কয়েকটা আছে তাদের average spending টা for that whole group is this. So here the subtotal is not technically total, but an total average, which is like the average of the whole group together. So এটা একটা subtotal create হয়ে গেল, এখানে আবার subtotals create হয়ে গেল. So these are subtotals within a table create করে আনতে পারি। আবার যদি আমরা এটাও আরো ডিটেইলে যেতে চাই, column totals, and we have row grand totals. So we can add these totals. How can totals be beneficial? Because ধরো যদি আমরা এখন দেখতে চাই যে okay, so what's the average spending of all female customers? That would be this. Average spending of all male customers would be this, and the overall average spending is this. Was the average spending of all the people who have who come from far and have high history? That would be this. So any questions with this so far? Acha. Another thing we can do on tables, and this can be done on other visualizations as well, is this whole concept of analysis. So আমরা যদি এখানে analysis যাই, we have quite a lot of options here. So we can do some percentage calculations. I'll show that a little bit later. We have totals. Here you can see row totals on the left, so we can format the totals. And here we can, so they're doing automatic because they're guessing সব জায়গায় যেহেতু average spending দেখাচ্ছে, so totals গুলো average spending এ হবে, but we can have also minimums and maximums in the total. Then এখানে trend lines আসবে না, এখানে একটা খুব কাজের জিনিস আসে is actually highlighters first. So we can build highlighter options where we can highlight through different variables. So let's say let's create a age highlighter, and let's create another highlighter called history highlighter. So what's happening? Let's see. So highlight age, highlight history, the option has to say. So what happens when I want to highlight age? So I'm just doing middle highlighting. See, the middle ones are being highlighted out. So if my user wants to highlight, who are how the middle age groups are doing, this is kind of helpful. Older dile this, younger dile this, and total ta jodi dekhte chai, that all age groups together this. Similarly, we can have highlighters on history where high history, medium history, low history, history not present, on NA stands for not available, so this data was missing, and total. So we can create highlighters to check these. So, and we can format these highlighters in terms of kun text format asbe, blah and blah. So that's one. Another useful thing about analysis is আমরা filters এখানে নিয়ে আসতে পারি, and filters. So here they are suggesting filters by the variables we have used, So age, average amount spent, gender, history, location, own home, but not necessarily. We can bring in filters from any of the variables we have. So ধরো আমরা এখন যদি filter করতে চাই in terms of, let's look at something we don't have here. Gender আছে, own home আছে, history and year আছে. What do we don't have? Married and unmarried tanai. So we can bring that as a filter. সেখানে যখন ওরা জিজ্ঞেস করতেছে যে আমরা কি এখান থেকে কিছু একটা সিলেক্ট করবো যে অনলি ম্যারিড দেখাবো কি অনলি সিঙ্গেল দেখাবো, উই ক্যান ডু দ্যাট এন্ড দ্যাট উড বি লাইক সো তোমাদেরকে আমি লাস্ট ক্লাসে বলেছিলাম 3টা ফিল্টার থাকে। সো একটা ফিল্টার হচ্ছে লোড ফিল্টার, সেকেন্ডটা হচ্ছে কনটেক্সট ফিল্টার বা ফিল্টার ইন দ্য পেজ, এন্ড থার্ডটা হচ্ছে হলো গিয়ে উইদিন ভিজুয়ালাইজেশন ইন্টারঅ্যাক্টিভ ফিল্টার। তো আমি একটা যেটা করতে পারি, সেকেন্ডটা যদি বলি যে ফিল্টার উইদিন আ পেজ, সাপোজ this variable that I'm creating, I just want to create only for say married people or only for say single people, আর কারোর জন্য করতে চাই না। So if this whole page is only about married people, I can just keep married as tick mark and okay দিয়ে রাখতে পারি, in which case this whole table will show me just married subgroup, not the full data. আবার dragging it out would show me the full data. Abar, if I want the user to have the option to pick whether it's the whole data or married or single, then আমরা এখানেই আবার married টা drag করে নিয়ে আসতে পারি, and then we click both and press OK here, and in this drop down we just put on show filter. So when we have put in as show filter, as you can see here in the screen, we have married, where all is now there. I want to just remove married and just look at single. I want to just look at married and remove single. So I can giving the user the control here. So when to use which one? যদি এখন এমন কিছু একটা চাই where my whole storytelling is based on a subgroup of people, then I can just put all the filters here and storytell here, and then give users other control. But at the same time, আমরা যদি আবার on the other hand আমরা যদি এরকম করতে চাই যে একটা ভিজুয়ালাইজেশন ক্রিয়েট করতে চাই যেখানে নাকি আমরা ইউজারকে কন্ট্রোল দিতে চাই, to zoom in or to narrow down or to filter to a certain subgroup, then adding these filters can help. Depends on my, again, objective. But I believe even if I don't want to give users too much control of modifying the visualization itself, this highlighting option is pretty handy because it kind of helps the user মানে যদি একটা স্পেসিফিক এরিয়া নিয়ে অবজার্ভ করতে চায়, দেখতে চায়, then this highlight comes in super handy. Say for example, আমি যদি এখন just young গ্রুপের নিয়ে একটা অ্যানালাইসিস করতে চাই, having a young highlighter is pretty handy for me because then I can just forget about the rest of the table and just read the young group here. This is like an interaction tool, কারণ এটা আরেকভাবে করা যেতে পারে যে আমরা জাস্ট যদি ইয়াং এর জন্যই পুরোটুক হাইলাইট করে রেখে দেই ফর জাস্ট সামওয়ান হুজ গোনা লুক এট ইয়াং, তাহলে চয়েসটা দেওয়া যাচ্ছে না। বাট এই টুলটা ট্যাবলুতে আই ফাইন্ড টু বি প্রিটি হ্যান্ডি বিকজ তাহলে যেটা হয় যে একটা মানুষকে আমি ইয়াং হাইলাইটও করতে দেখলাম, আবার তাকে আমি ওল্ড হাইলাইটটাও দিলাম, and say old people who come very often, so then they can highlight. So unfortunately তখন যেটা হচ্ছে second highlight takes over the older one, so old টা এখন আর দেখাচ্ছে না, it's showing high all the time. So যে কোনো একটা চুজ করতে পারি, but একটার জন্য so interaction highlighting টা ট্যাবলুতে নাই, that we can create using codes, but this one at least gives me my users some level of like ability to fix on some values, even with the option to change, like not even if I don't want to give them the option to change the visualization. So any questions, peeps? Confusions, questions, anything? Awesome. So that's about tables. Oishi, are you trying to say something? You want to mute?
Sir, are you talking to me, sir?
Were you saying something?
No, sir. Sir, আমার এখানে একটা mute দেখাচ্ছিল. I'm not sure if
Okay, no worries. It's fine. Cool. That takes care of tables. Now, this was a table we created based on summary numbers. So multiple values or multiple calculations from one variable. So say catalogs, we have total catalogs, minimum catalogs, maximum catalogs, average catalogs. Then we have spending amount, so total spending amount, minimum, maximum, average. So we can do much more, like, the options we have here in terms of calculation is standard deviation of population, variance and variance of population, all these. Now, table ক্ষেত্রে আরেকটা last যেটা দেখাবো তোমাদেরকে আমি is something called time intelligence and auto like quick calculations within tables. So let's create another table. This would be the last table I'm going to create. So let's say, yeah, again, amount spent is a issue that I'm interested in. Or actually, let's put amount spent later. Say I'm interested in the last date of visit. And let's make it like, not quarters. I'm interested more on the months. So because it's the same year, so just months, let's let go of the quarters. These are the months. And we can let go of the year as well, because these are just like, 1 year months of data chilo. So these are the months, and say I want to check, say, let's look into একদিকে age group নিয়ে আসি আবার, and another নিয়ে আসি, say again demography টাই দেখি, age group and gender, and say আমরা spending amount দেখতে চাই. So this is like, time wise total spending amount of each of the age groups and each of the genders in March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. যে কয়েকটা মাসের আমার data আছে. Let's expand this to show all the month names. Oh, here we go. There you go. Now, suppose instead of knowing the exact sums, I'm more interested in doing some calculations here in terms of like which are growing, which are the months, each of these subgroups and the groups have growth, and each of the months where each of these groups and subgroups are not growing or decreasing in terms of amount spent. The way to do so is, if we drop down and say we add some quick table calculations. So here, one is we have running total. So running total is the total seller, like let's look at it, how running total looks like. So running total is basically ওরা প্রত্যেকটা গ্রুপের জন্য প্রত্যেকটা মাসের জন্য রানিং টোটাল দেখছে যে this is মার্চের পর রানিং টোটাল এপ্রিলে এত ছিল, মেতে এত ছিল, জুনে এত ছিল, জুলাইতে এত ছিল, অগস্টে এত ছিল, সেপ্টেম্বর এত ছিল, অক্টোবরে এত ছিল. This is like running total for each of the groups, and I can choose running total in two ways. One is looking at time. Mostly running total makes sense when you're looking at time, but another way to go about is compute using table down, in which case we'll be looking at each of the subgroups. So female contributed ato, male added ato, old female ato, old male ato, young female ato, young male ato. In which case this can become a little convoluted, because I mean, why middle female শুরুতে add করছে? Why not say young female? So we can fix that still. Age এর ক্ষেত্রে যে আমরা we can opt for the option sort, and sort এ যে আমি ম্যানুয়াল কিছু সর্টিং করতে পারি, where young আগে যাক, তারপর middle, তারপর old, তখন ইয়াং ফিমেল দিয়ে শুরু করবে, তারপর আবার যদি ইয়াং ফিমেলকে আগে না দিয়ে মেলকে আগে দিতে চাই, বা ফিমেল, সো ওরা অ্যালফাবেটিক্যালি যাচ্ছে, অন্যভাবে দিতে চাইলে I can change this. But so this is another way to calculate running total, but to be honest, running total makes more sense mathematically as well as for a user when we're doing table across, which means running total like this. Now we can also do running total per pane. So what would that mean? So let me show you that. So compute using per pane across pane down আছে. So this would be like this: running total, running total, running total. আবার একটা করা যেতে পারে যে running total pane down then across. So this was like এভাবে যাবে জিনিসটা, here running total যাচ্ছে, so this, আবার this, but again, I mean, can come in handy if you're asking specific questions, but I think running total computation for this situation, at least, I believe across makes the best sense. So,
sir, can we add a time series diagram for the running totals?
Of course. We're going to do that again. Table, we're going to go for other diagrams. So time series is one of the visualizations I'm going to show to you on this. Achha. The other thing, before we go for time series or other visualizations, is another calculation we can do is, let's remove this quick calculation. So এটা দেখাচ্ছি যে ধরো কিভাবে তাড়াতাড়ি করা যায়, but at the same time we can remove the oops, sorry. Let's just clear table calculation, in which case we get back to the normal. What other quick calculations we can use? একটা খুব কাজের আসে is basically percentage difference. I think that's very useful. যে, let's look at this. So this chooses one of the months as a base because we're going across. And March is the base, and it shows that, okay, March base থেকে April কত difference ছিল. Then April থেকে, so this is interesting. Remember this very carefully. March base এখানে click করছে, and সেখানে April এর change দেখাচ্ছে. Mayটা কিন্তু is basing on April and doing this calculation. Juneta is based on May and doing this calculation. Abar July is basing on June and doing this calculation. Now, this is where I can create a very interesting table with a combination of color and text. Can you guess how? Anyone? Think যে এই টেবিলটাতে আমি একটু enhance করতে পারি with, say, color to be this and number to be the actual number. How can we do that?
You're highlighting the negative numbers, negative percentages.
Close. Acha, I mean, I was not expecting you to get the right answer. Start with,
including the base number.
We will include the base number, but first we'll do one thing. Look, এখানে যে calculated জিনিসটা আসে এটাকে আগে কালারে ফেলা. So now it's looks like the heat map that Sadid was asking, Jay, background color, right? So let's add আমাদের আবার base numberটা নিয়ে আসি লেভেলে. Okay, now এটা যেহেতু base, এটা যদি না দেখাতে চাই, আমি জাস্ট যদি কোনগুলো increase করেছে decrease করেছে দেখাতে চাই, কালারে যাই, edit colors এ যাই, and let's choose two-step color. Very simple, a black or white. So, and say, let's choose a color to be, actually, let's manually choose this. Let's make it red, like a chokhe bora red. And let's make it chokhe bora green. It's not, chokhe bora green is too ugly. This green, let's say. And then amra make sure kori center to 0 choose kori. So anything less than 0, there is something that has decreased, is red. Anything greater than 0, something that has increased, is green. There. So একটা প্রবলেম হবে, মার্চটা সব সবুজ হবে, so we have to remember. So এখানে যেটা করা লাগবে যে এখানে either আমি একটা text বা একটা instructions add করতে পারি telling people that the coloring is based on percentage difference from the previous period where March is the base period. So this clearly highlights which of the subgroups had increases in which of the months and which of the month there was a decrease in sales. আবার চাইলে আমরা এই extensiveness of increase or decrease এর জন্য আমরা আবার একটা shading করতে পারি instead of to scale, where the redder the color is, the more decrease, the greener the color is, the more increase. And yeah, I mean, red and green again telling decrease and increase. Clear? Any confusion on this? So we can call it sales over time, age and gender groups. Any confusion, people? Acha. One last thing before we move to other visualizations, because again, these are the bases that I want to cover starting with. A visualization take I improve kora jete pare. Let's remove gender. Let's just look at age for now. See, I can create something called a hierarchy. Hierarchy means a way I want to group the information and present it. So, কিছু hierarchy যেমন naturally present থাকে, যেমন যদি আমরা একটা geographic location থাকে। বাংলাদেশের ক্ষেত্রে যদি একটা location hierarchy বলি, division is a hierarchy followed by jela, thana, gram. So, division is a top hierarchy, সেটাকে can be broken down into jela, thana, gram. Abar it could be like, আমি যদি একটা প্রোডাক্টের ক্যাটাগরি সাবক্যাটাগরি নিয়ে কাজ করি, then category could be the main hierarchy followed by subcategory followed by each of the products in each of the subcategory. So that's another way to look at a hierarchy. Or we can also create hierarchy on how we want to present something. So the way we can create a hierarchy, ধরো এখানে যেরকম যদি আমি একটা স্টোরি টেল এভাবে করতে চাইছি, I'm going to first show the values of age groups, and then I'm going to break it down into gender, and then for each of the gender I'm going to break it down further into their marital status. So then a hierarchy of thought could be like, starting with age, following it up with age group report, we can follow it up with gender, and then follow it up with whether someone is married or not. So we can create a hierarchy like that. The way to create that hierarchy, very, very, very simple, is আমরা age group এর পর আমরা আনতে চাই হচ্ছে gender. So genderটাকে নিয়ে drag করে age group এর উপর ফেলাই। So here they're asking create a hierarchy. So I call it an age hierarchy, or let's actually name it better, demo hierarchy. So in demo hierarchy, we have age and gender. We can actually add another one to the hierarchy, which is say marital status. So I bring it here, drag it right below gender here. So now if I create this hierarchy, and instead of just putting age here, we bring in the demo hierarchy, you'll see what happens. So প্রথমত আমাকে age দেখাচ্ছে, age wise my sales over time, the increases and decreases. Pressing the plus sign gives me gender, age and gender wise, increases and decreases. And then pressing the plus sign would give me age, gender, and marital status wise, increases and decreases. Confusion? Yeah, Hoshin, go for it.
Sir, I have a very silly question. Sir, আমি বুঝলাম না যে what's the difference between me just putting the age, gender, and married groups in the rows and arranging them into a hierarchy and then adding them plus the idea.
So again, making it more interactive for the user. So এরকম হতে পারে যে এখন খেয়াল করে দেখো, আমি যদি just collapse করে রাখি, and this is a more smaller and cleaner visualization. Now এই ভিজুয়ালাইজেশনটাই আমি যখন পাবলিশ করব, আমি ইউজারকে ওই অপশনটা দিতে চাই, because I can restrict the user from dragging more stuff here and modifying my visualizations. But I want him to understand that him or her to understand that they can start with age, then further look into gender, and then further look into the marital status. So thought flowটা আমি এখানে নাচ করতেছি যে তুমি যদি মানে demographically ভাঙতেই চাও this data, then first you go for age, then you break it down into gender, and then you break it down into married, without your knowledge of the fact তুমি এখান থেকে drag করে এখানে নিয়ে আসবা।
I got
Making
it. Thank
sense?
you, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. It's again মানে বললাম তো মানে দিনের শেষে না ওই যে ধরো ফার্স্ট লেসনস গুলো যে how you plan to tell your story. So আমি যদি এখন মানে I want them to think this way, I'm anchoring them to think this way, that when you're analyzing this data set, you should start with age, follow it up with gender, and follow it up with married, and say we call it a demographic sales performance over time. So making it like sound like this, that demographic sales performance over time. By the way, please do excuse me on my naming of the charts, because my creativity borders on really negative here. So I leave my team members to name stuff. I really suck at it. So feel free to take this save file and just rename it for yourself, because now that I'm looking at it, it sounds weird. Demographic sales performance. আমার মাথায় জাস্ট মনে হচ্ছে যে I'm trying to sell demographics এ মানে কয়টা middle aged male single মানুষকে বেচতে পারছি, so I'm not trying to do that. আচ্ছা, that's mostly the functionalities I wanted to show you. Okay, now we go for visualizations. এই minimal functionalities গুলো দেখাতে যাচ্ছিলাম, so that what are the stuff that you can play around with Tableau. Now if we look at visualizations, let's start with very basics. And I know that some of you, for you, it might be just repeats or stuff that you have already covered. But this is, I'm going one step at a time, very slowly, for everyone's benefit. So that again, যেটা আমি first last class বলেছিলাম যে I believe this is a skill you all should pick up. That's why I'm going in snail speed slow, so that you don't miss out each of these techniques. So moving on, if we look at say তোমার যদি explore করতে চাই, okay. So exploring visualizations are generally descriptives. সো একটা খুব সিম্পল ডেসক্রিপটিভ হতে পারে যে এজ গ্রুপ ডিস্ট্রিবিউশন কিরকম আছে, ম্যারিটাল স্ট্যাটাস ডিস্ট্রিবিউশন কিরকম আছে, হিস্ট্রি ডিস্ট্রিবিউশন কিরকম আছে। সো একটা ক্যাটাগরিক্যাল ডিস্ট্রিবিউশন যদি দেখতে চাই, the most, like, I keep on telling you guys, if fine I use we can use a bar chart or a column chart. So let's do one. So easiest one take kori, say age group ta kori. So we bring in age in column, we drag in age again in rows, and here we write a matrix create kore felbo je abc abc abc. But here I want the rows to be not age in terms of categories, but I want some calculations here je measure je count. So it's going to count how many rows are in each of these age groups. And that gives me my data composition. যে কতজন মানুষ old, কতজন মানুষ young, কতজন মানুষ middle. And এখানে again ওরা কিন্তু ধরো এই যে middle, old, young আনতেছে alphabetical order. We can make it a descending order, ascending order, or a descending order. Or এখানে আমি যদি তোমাকে suggest করি, this is where this is a categorical variable with a order structure, right? Why do I tell it? Why do I say that it's a categorical variable with order structure? Anyone? Why is age a categorical variable with an order structure? Any volunteers? Think. It's a very easy question, actually.
Sir, I didn't understand the part about the order structure, but it's a categorical variable because we can break it into categories like we did here. At a certain range মধ্যে মানুষ হচ্ছে young, at a certain range মধ্যে middle age, and at a certain range মধ্যে old.
So why am I saying this is an order structure, or a structure which can be ordered?
Oh, I guess because I mean we can arrange it how you want to, like আমরা হচ্ছে একটু আগে যেমন ইয়ানটাকে উপরে নিয়ে গেলাম ইয়ান মিডলে. So I'm not sure if I'm saying what I'm saying makes
You
sense.
are bordering on the correct answer. একটু push করো. Go a little bit deeper and you'll get the answer.
So we can build a structure. When we kind of built a structure as we like can see here, like in terms of like যে range use করে যেটা করলাম, মানে our category use করে, and then we could like order it, like we could arrange it in ascending or descending order depending on what metric we want to highlight.
That's fair for all categorical variables. এখানে এই ভ্যারিয়েবল গুলোকে স্ট্যাটিস্টিক্স একটা টার্ম বলে cardinal, ordinal, and তোমার nominal. Cardinal variables are variables যেটার কোনো so defined order নাই। যেমন যদি আমরা এখন জেন্ডার বলি, ধরো dichotomous gender বলি যে মেল ফিমেল, or say আমরা যদি all the gender types বলি, 8টা gender type আছে এখন accepted in, 8 are accepted in Singapore. I think there are more in US, but if you have these 8 types, now gender where gender কিন্তু তোমার করা সম্ভব না। you can't say that male is greater than female, or say transgender male greater than transgender female, greater than male, greater than female. You can't order them. It's wrong. But আমরা যদি অ্যাড্রেস নিয়ে চিন্তা করি, ধরো one of you living in Mirpur, one of you living in Gulshan, one of you living in Dhanmondi, by itself it's not possible to say that Mirpur greater than Gulshan and greater than Dhanmondi. Maybe যদি আমরা দেখি number of shops, food shops, then maybe Gulshan greater than Dhanmondi, greater than Mirpur. But তোমার by itself that address is not order করা যেতে পারে, কিন্তু কিছু categorical variables আছে who could be ordered. Like ধরো এখানে age কি অর্ডার করা, একটা ন্যাচারাল অর্ডার আছে না যে ইয়াং এজ ফলোড বাই মিডল এজ ফলোড বাই ওল্ড এজ?
Yes sir.
তারপর যদি আমরা এখন ধরো এই যে ভিজিটটা দেখতেছি, ভিজিটে যদি আমি বলি যে লো, মিডিয়াম, হাই, সো দ্যাটস অলসো অ্যান অর্ডিনাল ভ্যারিয়েবল, বিকজ লোটা আগে আসবে, কম আসে, মিডিয়াম যারা মোটামুটি আসে, এন্ড হাই যারা ঘন ঘন আসে। সো ক্যাটেগরিক্যাল ভ্যারিয়েবল কিন্তু দুইটা গ্রুপে ফর্ম করা সম্ভব। একটা হচ্ছে কার্ডিনাল এন্ড অর্ডিনাল। কার্ডিনাল হচ্ছে when the grouping is not possible by definition or by nature. আমরা যদি কোনো ভ্যালু দিয়ে গ্রুপিং ordering টা বা sorting টা is not possible by nature, like someone's name, someone's gender, someone's location, someone's religion. These could not, by nature, cannot be ordered, cannot be ascending or descending by nature. You wanna create an ascending or descending based on, say, dhoro, number of people following religion. I mean, number ta diye tumi ascending descending korte paro, that's a different game altogether. But by nature, it is not. But there are some categorical variables, যেগুলো by nature is possible to order, which is like, age groups, like young, medium, old. Satisfaction, where we can start with very dissatisfied, neutral, satisfied, very satisfied. How regularly someone comes, daily, monthly, weekly. So daily, tarpor monthly, tarpor weekly. So these are order, arrangeable. So here, for example, age is actually kintu ekta ordinal categorical variable. And here, instead of showing like, middle age ashlo, young, so it depends again on the storytelling I want to say. And if I want to highlight, okay, which group is the most representative of my data, then maybe this is a good idea. But if I want to see that what's the age distribution of my data, then age middle ekjon deklo, tarpor young deklo, old deklo, that doesn't follow naturally. Tokhon sorting ta manually korata better. So we go for sort, we go for manual, and we set young to be the top, middle, and old. There. So in that way, this follows naturally, or it could be old group, middle group, young. So a floater naturally follow. And then what we can do is ekhane jemon dhoro total numbers dekhache, like 287, 508, 205, or 1000. We can do a little bit better. We can, instead of showing the total number, we can drop down here, go for quick table calculation, and press percentage of total. So in which case, I mean percentage of total dekte partechi. Then we can do a little bit more. Amra chaile ei percentage of total ta ekhane drag kore ba ekhane over kore dekhache. What we can do is like control press kore, or MacBook thakle command press kore etake drag kore label e niye ashte pare. In which case, now I get to see the percentage contribution of each of them, and as a label here. Finally, just to add more finesse to the visualization, I can also bring age as a color, which makes each of the groups stand out, which shows my percentages of total. And yeah, I mean, my age distribution described here, distribution of my age variable. Any questions? Questions, confusions, anything? Now, since this is a nested variable, but a hierarchical variable, amra chaile age er sathe jodi now see gender distribution. Oops, sorry, too big. One way to fix it is we can just go for fit width. Oops, fit width here. There you go. So in which case I'm looking at age and gender distribution, and we can go a little bit deeper and say age, gender, and marital status distribution. Let's keep it on age and gender distribution. এখানে আবার কিছু changes in calculation করতে পারি আমরা। যেমন এই ক্ষেত্রে আমাদের কিন্তু total এর percentages বলছে। So total এর percentage দেখাচ্ছে. Let's say we wanna do is we wanna show the percentage as compute using say each pane across. In which case প্রত্যেকটা গ্রুপের জন্য কত percent male and female সেটা দেখতে পারবো। So in which case আমরা যদি pane across দেখি, we need to fix one small thing here. আমার এটা কিন্তু ঠিক হয়নি এখনো। লেবেলটা আগেরটাই আছে। So লেবেলটা সরিয়ে দিয়ে আমরা control দিয়ে লেবেলটা এখানে নিয়ে আসি। Now each of the groups contributions আমরা দেখতে পারতেছি, male and female contributions for each of the groups. So we can calculate like that, or we could keep it the way we did previously. So this is very simple visualization to look at the distribution of age variable. Any confusions? Acha. Other descriptive variables, I mean other descriptive visualizations যেটা তোমাকে দেখাই, ধরো এটা তো গেল একটা categorical variable distribution. So similarly we can do a distribution for a numeric variable. So in numeric variables, we normally do distributions in two ways. One was histogram, the other was box plot. So let's start with the histogram. The way to do an histogram, very simple here, is amount spent click kore. We can just go for show me and click the histogram option. And there you go. They have auto-generated the histogram for you. So this is the distribution of spending amount, mostly cluttered towards the left-hand side. যেটা মানে বলছে যে মানে 500 মানে around this zone যে which is বিনটা হচ্ছে in 196, so 200 থেকে ধরো 1000 এর মধ্যে most of the proportion of the population is here. So most of the people are spending like this. Some people spending very low. There are some who are super high spenders. And just like the table, I can select these and I can select these again, and I can check the data here. So from there, I can create a subset to see who are these people. Another way to clean this up a little bit is we can go for, again, percentage of total, because that gives me an idea that, you know, which of the groups represent most. So এখানে যেরকম একটা quick calculation করে নেওয়া যায় যে ধরো এখানে কত percent, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, 0.2, so that's 0.5%. Then our 0.2, 0.2, that's 0.9%, and this is 0.1. So 99% of the people are spending within this limit, 1% above this limit. So that's why percentages can come in handy. Another thing we can do is এখানে ওরা এই bins গুলো calculate করে দিচ্ছে. They found out the optimal set of bins. But if I'm not happy with this, I can create my own bins. So I can create broader bins or shorter bins. What's a bin here? Bin is like, you know, the width of each of the bars here, like the groups here. So the way to do that is এখানে আমরা যদি drop down list এ যাই, edit এ press করি, here this is the bin size. আপাতত ওরা suggest করতেছে 196. So 0 to 196 একটা bin, 196 to the next 196, that is 2 into 196 another bin, then 2 into 196 and 3 into 196 another bin, and সেখানে ওরা count গুলো করতেছে. But if I want to make it more, say, broader, say I'm going to just divide this whole data into bins of 500, I can do that. We can just click 500 and press OK. Now this is a broader way of looking at the distribution. That 0 to 500 মধ্যে এত percent of people, 500 to 1000 মধ্যে এত percent of people, 1000 to 1500 মধ্যে এত percent of people. So when do you do this? Normally, when do you create broader bins? What could be a situation which would require you to create a broader bin? Come on, there's no wrong answers again. Think. Anyone? Acha, if I give you the answer, we normally, I mean, it's better to go for smaller bins to understand, like, you know, narrowed patterns. But sometimes what's needed is ধরো এখন যদি তোমার the person who's managing the store, he's more interested to know যে, you know, মানে তার 196 is not enough. What he wants to know is like, okay, মানে 0 to 500 বা 0 to 1000 কত percent of the people are there, 1000 to 2000 কত percent of people are there. So if you want to see that, you know, যে exactly এই amount spent টাকে chunk মানে bigger chunks এ ভাগ করলে how does it look like, or should we divide them into bigger chunks and create groups? So one thing is, instead of predicting what, I mean, how much someone can spend, we can also ask our data that, you know, এই যে স্পেন্ডিংটা সেটা কি কয়েকটা সার্টেন গ্রুপে ফর্ম করা সম্ভব কিনা, যে লো স্পেন্ডার্স, মিডিয়াম স্পেন্ডার্স, হাই স্পেন্ডার্স, তখন এক্সপ্যান্ডিং দ্য বেনস ক্যান বি হ্যান্ডি। যেমন এখন যদি আমি বেনটাকে 500 না রেখে, সে লেটস গো ফর 1000, জাস্ট টু এক্সপ্লোর যে মানে মিনিমাল কয়টা গ্রুপে ফর্ম করা যেতে পারে। Now I think this could be an interesting grouping. 0 to 1000 almost 51% of the people are there. Then above 1000 is the rest 50%. So we can say that, okay, maybe say 1000 and below would be the low spenders. Maybe say 1000 and 3000 are say medium spenders, and anything above 3000 are high spenders. So এই ধরনের categorical analysis করাটা of a numeric value, একটা numeric value কে কয়টা ভাগে ভাগ করা যেতে পারে based on the data that you have, তখন এই broader beans নিয়ে খেললে বা you modify these broader beans and you get an idea that how do you create this grouping? Do you create 5 grouping, like very low spenders, moderate spenders, high spenders, and very high spenders? Or do you like low spenders, moderate spenders, and high spenders? So a grouping এ দেখা যাচ্ছে যে maybe forming 3 groups is better, because these are so low bins যে এগুলো calculation নিয়ে আসাটা মানে is unnecessary. Yes, Merab.
So এই গ্রাফটা কি টোটাল ট্রানজাকশনের নাকি টোটাল নাম্বার অফ পিপল?
Total number of people, which is total transactions. So you have 1000 person.
একজন যদি মাল্টিপল ট্রানজাকশন করে তখন কি করতে হবে?
That's something we discussed in the last class. This data, they took in only 1 transaction per person. But yes, good point, Merab. যদি আমার এখন data set এমন ভাবে থাকে that if this is per transaction data, then I can decide to label it as transactions and consider a transaction to be a high transaction, medium transaction, low transaction. Or if I want to label a person as a high spender, low spender, medium spender, then what I can do is প্রথমত আমি Tableau prep use করে aggregate করে আনতে পারি per customer, and তখন তার total transactionটা দেখতে পারি, so that if I have one customer with 3 transactions, that boils down to a single row, because বাকি সব data of the customer is the same, right? Because বাকি প্রত্যেকটা data is customer specific. Only transaction যদি transaction specific হয়, I can just aggregate it to a total transaction of each customer. Could I answer your question, Merab?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Acha. Now, the other way around is actually, if I want to zoom in more into each of the bins, then again we can go for edit, and instead of 1000, let's look at how each 100 groups are represented. Now that's a more narrowed out histogram, which kind of shows me that zero spending, 0 to 100 and just 0.9% of people were there. So this shows me the peak that most of the people spent in the range between 200 to 300 taka. So if you want to zoom in into a 100 taka region, on in a specific region where most of the transactions are happening, you can do that with narrower and narrower bins. I can create a crazy narrow bin, which is per taka bin, but that will be drawing a line for each data there is. But let's see how ugly that gets. So just 1 taka bin there. So this highlights that 576 is so this visualization is also helpful, because this tells me that which of the individual payments dominate over other payments. So these 2 payments have dominated. So 576 taka spending and 1162 taka spending has dominated the others, and they construct of 0.4% of the data set, which multiplied by 1000 gives you how much? 0.4 is 4, right? Yeah, I think it should be 4. So is it 4? Yeah, it's 4. So 4 people spent 576, 4 people spent 1162. And I can also find them. Click, look at data, pull data, and you'll have these people. So individual spikes gulo dekhar jonno we can narrow it down as much. But if we go back to the suggested, so they do a statistical calculation to create this bin size. So this statistically should be this. And when you go back, we're back to our original histogram. So any questions? So এখানে যদি আমরা line type-টা দিয়ে দিই তাহলে এটা আবার density plot হয়ে গেল. So here choosing bar gives me a histogram, choosing a line gives me sort of like a density plot, or even an area gives me a density plot. So any questions, people? Acha. If not, we're going to look at another one. So let's call it, say, histogram of spending amount. If we look at the next visualization, and again, we are still in the descriptives. So the other descriptive, numeric descriptive visualization you can create for a numeric variable is the one that I've been ranting on for quite some time, is the box plot. Now, unfortunately, Tableau makes it a little difficult to create a box plot, but it's not that difficult. So if you follow the steps, let's just look at, say, spending amount. Okay, the total spending amount here. Now, you have an option where in the y-axis, we can create a right click and go for an option called add reference line. So in the add reference line, I have an option to add a single line. I have an option to add a band of lines, like a range to highlight something, a distribution. So here, if you see, like, auto distribution, that is 60%, 80% on average. But what I can do is create a box plot. Now, box plot is whiskers concept. Either we can do like 1.5 times the IQR or the maximum extent of the data. So let's keep 1.5 times the IQR. And then if I press OK, it's still not my box plot because the whole chart is covering up the box plot. So the way to do so is এখন we can go for analysis and we can uncheck this to aggregate measures. Now each value is shown as a circle. Now let's reduce the size of the circle. There, my box plot is ready. So this nicely highlights Tomar. Let's expand this a little bit. Sorry. Yeah, there you go. So this is the lowest number, 0. And like when 0 being the lowest whisker you can get, their lowest whisker statistic is 38. The highest whisker is 1689. Median is 962. The lower hinge, highest is 3400. Upper hinge is basically the 75 percentile. The lower hinge is the 25 percentile. And these are my outliers. Now I can divide this box plot into, say, a box plot for each age group. Oh, this is age group. Sorry. Let's make in age. There. And this sort of statistically shows me that if I ask you the question like, is spending related to age? What do you think? What's the answer? Is spending in my shop related to age? What would the answer?
Yes, I guess because the people from the young age segment are not having great transactions of higher value.
I mean, statistically, তুমি যদি দেখো, মানে young groupটা stands very much different from the middle and the old group. So I won't, even if I don't say that age is directly related to spending, but yes, one age group spends significantly less than the other age groups. Well, Oishi, I'll disagree on the increase in age increases spending because middle and old group and this percentage is not much to confidently say that old spends more than middle. But at least a visualization thing, আমরা এতটুকু বুঝতে পারতেছি যে young group, young age যে age group they spend significantly less than old and the middle group. And that's your, again, visualization of a numeric variable, descriptive visualization of a numeric variable, which is a box plot. So box plot for amount span. এখানে যেমন আমি quickly এটাকে expand করে দেখতে পারি যে which subgroup really stands out. So let's say gender, and yeah, there you go. And let's fit it by width. So sorry, give me a sec. Yeah, fit by width. So now this kind of shows me that who's a high spending group. So old male is a high spending group in terms of dispersion as well. And they have so this visualization helps me find out some of the outliers as well. Like this Lord Unicorn for me is a male old guy who spent around 6217 in my shop. These are pretty close to my Lord Unicorn, this one and this one as well. So this could be like my high spenders. And I can just by a quick look see like, who are my high spenders, in which of the demographic groups are my high spenders. So any questions? If not, I'm gonna pause here today. And so, because I'm going chunk by chunk. So the next one I'm going to look into is relational visualizations, such as scatterplot, such as filled and stacked bar charts and how to use them, and tree maps. Oh, I've missed out one. Sorry. The other one I wanted to show, another visualization that we can do is Sadman equation is used. I think for the monthly one, can we not have a line like a time series plot? So another descriptive visualization is actually a time series plot. The way to do a time series plot, super duper easy, is we bring in the time series variable and we bring in the numeric variable that I want to track. So here it's showing just one dot because it's a year akare dekhache. So what we can do is expand na kore arekta kaj korte pari, create a continuous time parameter. The way to do so is go to drop down here, and this first part is discrete time parameters. These are continuous time parameters. So what I want is monthly per year jodi dekhte chai, or weekly per year jodi dekhte chai. Let's say week number and year. Then it would look like this. So it's my weekly spending data and a time series for that. I'm jodi etake weekly na dekhe. If I want to see say daily, then this is my daily data. If I want to say monthly, then this is my monthly data. So let's look at week, and that's my time series. Now I can build time series based on, say again, different age groups. Oops, again, I'm not using the age grouping, but rather this one. Gender to charity, yeah, this one. Or I could look at like the time series based on location. Interesting. Why is it not allowing me to drag in location? Give me a sec. I will span history down there. History under one of location. Oh, there you go. Location. Then we can go for whether someone owns home or not. And here we can also create secondary axis and put in another variable in the secondary axis, such as salary. So we can drag it here on the right hand side and drop it, and we have salary as well. But as I once advised in the class very strongly, that secondary axis can confuse the primary axis, because now in the primary axis in a month span, somehow miraculously we have on one side few Ks and on the other side few hundreds of Ks. So if someone's very careful, they can distinguish, but if someone's not very careful, this is an utter mess. I'm ready to do the daily dekhte chai. This becomes more challenging there. So
sir, I have a question. Could you go to the weekly visualization?
Yeah.
So can we say that there is a correlation between the amount spent and the salary, because the lines tend to get really
very close to each other?
Yes.
Yes, but again, I would say that see, this is one of the biggest reasons why I'm not a big fan of dual axis charts, because the level of variation time, variation is very different. So even a slight difference here between the orange and the blue chart can mean significant difference in the right hand axis.
And that's why the scale is different. Yep.
Yeah, scale different. To be honest, if you ask me to look into, yes, I can say that there's a correlation, but better to the correlation, I'd still draw scatter plot. The best way to understand that correlation. This is actually convoluted. Acha, Oishi, raise your hand.
Sorry, I had a question, but I got the answer.
Okay. Cool. Let's go. I don't want to keep the dual axis, so let's just dial it back. There. And let's call it the time series of month values. Okay, so that's for today. Any questions for today? Questions, confusions, anything? Saqib, you unmuted yourself?
So no questions.
Cool. Acha. If not, one more thing is like, I've shared the data set sources with you. So I hope you're looking into that. Please submit. So I'm going to share the folder tonight or tomorrow, where you're going to upload your data set, or actually data set a link to that one. Don't upload the data set. Just upload to the Word document that I've asked you. A Word document, half a page, not even a full page, please. Half a page or even less than that. For me, I'm the barbar eta bolbo je I read through all that you send me, which basically means the more you write, the more you're torturing me actually. So I always prefer short, succinct, and precise. Because I don't know why our education is all about a page, but reality is the other way around. So I'm the one even if it's like say nicely why you're choosing this or what you want to do, or even a single sentence for each of the questions that I ask for the source of the data. So which is like, give me the URL of the data, then a small description of the data. So 1 or 2 lines on the data, why you're choosing it, what do you want to do with it. So if for four of these things, there are 4 sentences, boom, perfect answer. I mean, I'm actually going to be very happy about that. So the less is better with me. Submit a Word doc on that. So folder submit korba, folder time khule dibo. And the convention of naming is again section, row, name, so that I have a quick check on whose doc it is, and make sure full name, so that I'm cross match with the. So yeah, any questions with that submission? Again, remember, the data sets is for your own exploration, but perfectly fine by me. Yeah, Merab.
So ideal data কি characteristic থাকা লাগবে? Ideal data set.
যেরকম এই যে তোমাদেরকে যে data set এখানে দেখাচ্ছি, এটা যদি দেখো, this is an example of an ideal data set, though a very simple one. আরেকটা যেটা শেয়ার করেছিলাম, Google যে Gmaps যেটা, global mobile apps exercise যেটা, ওটা। তারপর আরেকটা এক্সাম্পল যদি তোমাদেরকে দেই, remember the data set we used to merge and clean in Tableau prep, so ওটা। So basically, to be frank, it would be good if there is a time perspective on it, but time perspective na thakleও it's fine. So time variable na thakleও চলবে. But what would be important is there are some cardinal and ordinal categorical variables that could be grouped, and some numeric variables whose relationships can be worked out. So good combination of them. Clear, Merab?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other questions, people? Okay. If not, then bye for today. See you on Wednesday, and hope to see your submissions. And deadline of submission is before class. And okay, this is where I'm kind of an asinine person, that really before class means before class. So I'm not gonna accept any submission which is after the class.
Sir,
I can be a very
sorry, sir. Sir, I want to ask. So the deadline is this Wednesday. This Wednesday, 11:30 p.m. Sorry, 11:30 a.m. Right?
11:29, 59.
11:29. Right. Sorry, sir. I'm asking because there is a chance we might not have our class. I'm not sure, but I think Ide Muladun Nabir chutita odine pore. I'm not sure about this though.
Okay, thank you for highlighting this. If there is a vacation on that day, then I'm happy to extend it till the end of the day. Okay, so ওখানে তোমাদেরকে একটা if clause দিয়ে দিলাম, so that তোমাদের আর তখন confusion না থাকে. So the if clause is like that. Thank you for highlighting, Unshi. So তখন যেটা হবে, it's the end of the day, which means Wednesday 11:59 p.m.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Take care, guys. See you either next Wednesday or next Sunday. Bye, everyone. And I'll send the recording to you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.